topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of home care, financial, home improvement, legal, health. Hey, we're in Florida, so that means it's that time of the year. It is hurricane time. And because it's hurricane time, that means we have to have the greatest public insurance adjuster. Let me introduce you, because we sure have one, Albert Labrador. Good afternoon, Albert.
Good afternoon, Steve. Thank you so much. You're so kind.
Hey, listen, you're getting ready to get really busy. I can feel it.
Thank you.
What do you? I see there's a hurricane out there, out in the Atlantic, and God, if you look at it, it looks like it's pointed right at Florida. So we'll have to pray and keep our fingers crossed it stays away.
Yeah, we're still not out of the woods yet. It's still hurricane season. And last year we had Nicole coming in middle of November.
I remember that, right towards the end of November. And, you know, we say hurricanes, Albert, but you do so much more than just hurricanes. First of all, let's tell people about Labrador Claims Consultants.
Well, Steve, we've been in business in 2004. We help homeowners with their insurance claims. We handle all types of claims from hail damage, wind, water, fire, mold, vandalism. We've been blessed to help over 1,900 insureds over 19 years that we've been in business.
That's a lot of claims.
Yeah, so we're here to help people with their insurance claims. We know that many times the insurance companies are not there to help the insureds. They don't behave correctly. They don't do what is supposed to. They don't do what is right for the homeowners, and we're happy to step in and help the homeowners get what they deserve for their homeowners claims.
You know, Albert, after you were on last time, we had a lot of people just curious to know the area that you cover. Most of them were asking about Southeast Florida. Do you cover that area also?
We go anywhere in Florida, but we're mainly in Central Florida for the most part. But in Southeast, if somebody calls us, we can help them out or refer somebody that we know that we trust that can help them out with their claims.
Oh, that's great. Because, you know, here we've got everybody telling how great you are. And turns out we've got people listening down in South Florida, but Central Florida is a big area. And it seems like in the last 2 or 3 years, the hurricanes coming to Florida have been Central Florida.
They have. They start somewhere, but they go right through Central Florida and they come out the other side. Even though we're in the middle, we still get hit. When I moved to Orlando over 25 years ago, I never thought that I would experience a hurricane. And we experienced many hurricanes in the 25 years that I've been here.
That's right. Well, you know, one of the things that we want to do is we want to educate our viewers and listeners. A lot of them don't even know companies like yours exist. And they just go ahead and settle for whatever the insurance company offers them. Let's start right there.
Well, Steve-O, you're absolutely right. When I first started in the business many years ago, my job was to educate people on what we did, because many times when a homeowner put in a claim and they weren't satisfied with the settlement, they thought their only option was to hire an attorney. And many folks don't want to hire an attorney for many different reasons. But we're licensed public adjusters. We handle claims, all types of claims for homeowners. We're advocates for the homeowners, and our job is to settle a claim for the homeowner for the best possible amount, so that the homeowner has enough money to get the repairs done. We typically handle claims much faster than an attorney. There's cases when you do need an attorney well, most of the time you don't. We can handle the claim from the beginning. We can start in the middle, or we can go in the back end when somebody already received the settlement and they're not sure if they can get more money. We review policies. We look at the damages. We write estimates. We meet with the adjusters. We take care of the claim from beginning to end and make sure that the homeowner has the proper amount of money to repair their property.
Albert, doesn't it make you laugh when these insurance adjusters come out and they try to act like they're your best friend, and their job is to pay you the least amount possible? Is that right?
Absolutely. They're trained to write tight estimates. They have these guidelines. It's funny because they say, well, we don't allow for this and we don't allow for that. And I tell them, we're in the policy. How they were before the loss. It has to be done. And whether the insurance company approves it or not, it doesn't matter. The home has to be repaired to the condition that it was before the loss.
I have to share something. I haven't even told you this yet. So you never know who's watching the show. There is a big company of public insurance adjusters out of California who picked up our show last time.
Okay.
And they actually, the reason they were calling is they wanted to have a show in Florida also. And we told them that, Albert's our exclusive. And they gave you the nicest compliment. They said, well, since we can't get it, let me tell you, he is really good at explaining what public adjusters do. We are so proud to have somebody like him, because he said there's a lot of bad ones out there. I thought that was wonderful.
That is great. And if you talk to him again, tell him that I thank him for that. We try to do the best that we can for the policyholders. We're ethical in the way we do business, how we handle the claims, how we talk to people. And we try to do what's right for the homeowner each and every day.
We also had a phone call after your show last time. It was somebody who was really upset. He was upset that he first of all, he was upset with the insurance company for lowballing him, which you see all the time.
All the time.
And then he was upset because he hired a public adjuster. And the reason why the public adjuster, he went with them, is he told him he could get him the most amount of money. And the guy was saying he liked how you handled it, because this guy got nothing close to what he said. So you got to be really careful when you're talking in any business. But that's what I like about your company, that you're very honest with people. You're upfront. You can tell them if you can help them or not. And you've been in business for a long time.
Yeah, thank God for that. Yeah, Steve, many times a homeowner tells me, well, how much is my claim worth? And I try not to give them a number. I try to give them sometimes I give them a range.
Right.
But what I tell them is, I'm going to do the best that I can to get you the most money that I can for your loss. Because when you give them a number and you don't get to that number, they're going to be disappointed. Okay.
Yes.
And many times, you talk to homeowners and they say, well, my neighbor got X amount of money and my other neighbor got, X amount of money. And I tell them, I don't know about their claim. All I know is about
Right.
your claim, and I'm going to handle your claim to the best of my ability as quickly as possible. And that's all that I can do.
I didn't, I never realized that not only do you do like roof leaks, hurricanes, things like that, but also if somebody breaks into your house and there's damage done.
Yeah, we can handle break-ins, we can handle vandalism, thefts, stuff like that. But most of the stuff that we do is water damage. That's what happens on a daily basis. And people have to be worried about their policies because policies are coming in now with exclusions for water damage, or they're having limits for water damage. Many times I'm getting calls of a leak, and I ask them to send me the policy, and I have to tell them the bad news that they have no water damage, or they have they have a limit. So folks have to look at their policies. They have to talk to their agents, or if they want, they can call me, and I can review their policy and look at their endorsements, because the insurance companies are getting trickier and trickier. And to try to save you some money, they'll sell you an inferior policy that doesn't give you the total coverage that you deserve for your home.
Albert, what are some of the most, and what's really sad is what's going on in the state of Florida with homeowner policies. There's so many companies that are going out of business. And the more companies that go out of business, that means the less homeowner insurance companies are here left, and they know they can charge more because they don't have as much competition, and rates are going up like crazy. What should people make sure that they have when it comes time with their homeowners insurance?
Well, I get calls all the time from people saying, "Hey, my policy went up X amount of money, and I'm looking for another policy." And many times I tell them, you don't have a choice, because
Right.
if you try to go with another insurance company, it's going to be the same. So if you have a good company, and there's some out there that are better than others, I recommend them to stay with those companies. But what can they do? I mean, if your roof is older, you can replace it. There's not much you can do. The insurance companies are going to continue to raise their premiums. I was just reading right now an article in the paper that premiums are not going down because of inflation and because of reinsurance costs. And reinsurance is the insurance that the insurance companies get for the claims. And that reinsurance is going up, plus, as everybody knows, inflation. So premiums are going to continue to go up. So there's not much a person can do. And many times, to cut some money, some people limit their coverage. They put a water damage limit or some other limits. And at the end, I don't recommend that, because if you have a large loss, that's the most you can collect. Some people are increasing their deductible, and that'll lower your premium.
Yes.
But you have to be careful, because I've seen $15,000-$20,000 deductibles, and those are high. Yes. I had one recently, a person, hurricane deductible, $18,000. That's high. So you got to look. You got to look at your policy. You got to talk to your agent. And like I said, if they want to call me and send me their policy, I'll be more than happy to look at it and give you my opinion on it. There's some companies that are better than others. Some super cheap companies that I would never recommend to anybody, because if you have a claim, it's a nightmare. So you're better off paying a little bit more for a company that will respond or take care of you better if and when you have a claim.
Why are termites not covered?
Steve, I don't know, but that's one of the things in the policy that they do not cover. That is one of those ironclad exclusions on the policy, like flood. When we had these rainwaters coming in and all this flooding coming in, flood and termites, those are two things that insurance companies, for some odd reason, they do not cover. Most everything else, they do.
What about mold?
Mold is covered if it's caused by a covered loss. For example, you have a pipe break and the water damages your home and that creates mold. That's covered under your policy. If you have an AC leak and you have damage behind the walls and that causes mold, that is covered. But if you have mold occurring naturally, sometimes your windows are old, and due to the change in temperature from the outside to the inside, you start getting mold around the windows, or your AC is not working properly, and and mold is being created on your ductwork. Many times that's not covered because that's not something that is covered under your homeowner's policy. But if you have a problem like that, it's best to contact a public adjuster to see if there's any way it can be covered. Because maybe the policy that you have is different, or we can find a way to get it covered. So before you contact your insurance company, your best bet is to contact a public adjuster. They're going to tell you, first of all, it's covered under your policy, and second, if it's worth pursuing. Because if your claim is not more than $10,000, it's not worth for you to put in a claim. And there's some policies, for example, one of the bigger companies in the United States, they don't cover mold.
Yeah.
So whether the mold is caused by a covered leak, is not covered. So you got to look at your policy before you can put in a mold claim.
What if I'm a listener listening to the show right now, and I had a claim that I put in, and I just accepted how much the insurance company offered me? Am I stuck with that, or could I call your company to come in and reopen the claim?
Absolutely. A lot of my claims that I have is for people that get a hold of me and they say, Albert, I received this amount of money. So I tell them to send me the paperwork, and then I go out to their house and look at the damages, and I tell them, yes, I can help you with this, or no, they pay you correctly. You're good. Do the work. So yes, a lot of our business is the reopens. Okay. And many times, like I said, homeowners think that they only have two options: not do anything or hire an attorney. But there's a third option, and you can hire a public adjuster, and a good public adjuster will try whether it's mediation with the Department of Insurance, where there's something called appraisal through your homeowner's policy. And many times we can come to an amicable solution for your claim much quicker than using an attorney. And because unfortunately there's a lot of public adjusters that the moment an insured gets underpaid or denied, they send it to an attorney. And once you send your claim to an attorney, 1 year, 2 years before you see anything. And many times is due to the changes in the law, 50 cents on the dollar, 40 cents on the dollar. So you might not have enough money after you pay the attorney, after you pay your public adjuster, to repair your home.
Albert, I'm going to say something. It's probably going to shock you, but I've been doing the Ask the Expert show for 12 years now, and I've dealt with a lot of public adjusters. And one of the things that I've learned is there are a lot of fly-by-night public adjusters. There's a lot of people who this is like a third job for them to put a sign up on the internet like they've been in business forever. You've actually been doing this for a long time. This is your only business. And people have to be careful on who they hire.
Absolutely. People have to be careful what public adjusters they hire. Some of them, they solicit door to door. And folks need to know that anybody solicit for a claim has to be a licensed public adjuster. And when they come in through your door, you tell them you have one thing and they come out with 3 different claims. And you have to be careful with that, because nowadays you can't do that. And you want to, if you have a legitimate claim, that's the one you want to concentrate on. And many times when claims go south, they want to send it directly to an attorney. They don't want to handle it. They don't want to negotiate. They don't want to go through the legwork to try to settle a claim amicably. And that's not right. And many times, some of these public adjusters are connected to attorneys. So sometimes you're signing a contract and they don't explain it correctly. And you might be signing a contract with an attorney. and you already know about it. So not only do you owe the PA fees, but you also owe the fee to the attorney. So folks have to be wary of those fly-by-nights, as you said. Folks that haven't been doing this for a long time, that they want to come in, they want to open up several claims. Many times they bring their own vendors and they tear up your home, and they cause that they tear up parts of your home that are not damaged to create more damage, and that's not right. And many times the person who's getting hurt is the homeowner.
Well, I know that next month you're going to be back with us again, and I think by next month, with hurricane season still being around, maybe we can talk about scams, that things you have to watch out for. But I also want to say one other thing before we go. If you're a business owner, you can also have a public insurance adjuster. Someone next door to you has a flood and it floods you out. You can use someone like Albert.
Yes, we've handled many commercial properties. Many business owners have called us to handle their claims. And we've had several, like you said, where the neighbor gets flooded and they get affected. We've handled many of those. Yeah, we're here to help, Steve. Whatever folks need, we're here to help. Any questions, any concerns, we're here to help.
Here's what I want people to do right now, because you don't know what the weather is going to do next week. God forbid. We're going to give you Albert's phone number and his website address. And I'm telling you, write this down, because you never know. You don't want to go back and go, what was that guy's name? I heard on the show. Let's give everybody your phone number and your website.
It's our phone number is 407-733-9997. Our website is labradorclaims.com. Look at our reviews. We have a lot of great reviews from many folks that we've helped over the years. Like I said, this is our 20th year in business. God has been good. We got strength to do the best that we can to advocate for the folks. Many of the folks are scared of insurance companies. They're scared of the person that knocks on the door. They don't know how to read the policies, and we're here to help them navigate the insurance policies, the insurance claims, to make sure that they get properly compensated for their loss.
Well, Albert, you are the best. This show went by so fast, as it always does. You'll be back with us again next month, and we hope we don't have any weather problems, but if we do, you have got a name now for I'm telling you, the greatest public insurance adjuster in the state of Florida. We'll see you next month, Albert.
Yes, thank you so much, Evo. God bless.
God bless you. We're going to go break. When we come back, we got another great expert. We're going to be talking about tax relief. We'll be right back.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Bender Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. We are so glad that you've decided to sit down and either watch or listen to our show this afternoon. We are with you every week at this time. We have about 6 months ago, we started getting all kinds of emails from people going, how come you don't have a tax relief expert? And listen, it's not so easy to find because you want to make sure you've got somebody who's reputable, who's really good, who's not going to rip you off because you've already got a problem with the IRS. You don't need a second problem. And we were able to find our next expert who is actually on all of our Florida shows as well as our Illinois show. Let me introduce you to attorney Kevin Benjamin. Good afternoon, Kevin. Let's see, is Kevin there?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. How you doing, Steve?
Hi, buddy. How you doing?
Good.
You're too popular. Well, I can see in the background. Looks like the sun's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, good. Okay. So, Kevin, listen, first of all, I am so glad that we have you as part of the show. Your company is Noble Tax Relief. And I'm going to give you the phone number. We're going to give it throughout the show. If you're watching on TV right now, it's also on our scroller. Number is 800-550-0733. Kevin's with us every month. Kevin, let's start off telling everybody about your firm and your background.
Well, thanks, Steve. I'm an attorney by trade. Been helping people for over 32 years. Started out mostly with consumers, but we help a lot of businesses also. And the background's more in bankruptcy law for many years, which involved a lot of tax work, dealing with the IRS, restructuring taxes, sometimes discharging taxes in bankruptcy. So then sometimes taxes are not dischargeable in bankruptcy. So we started just helping people discharge taxes or offering compromises, installment agreements, offering IRS representation for various settlement programs or different resolution programs with the IRS. And it got to be so much that we started a whole company called Noble Tax Relief that simply concentrates in helping individuals or businesses in all kinds of income or payroll tax issues, getting liens released, levies released, settling debt, compromising debt, making agreements. We could help people in appeal their tax issues with the IRS if their programs are turned down or their offers are turned down. We could help people and before the U.S. tax court with representation. Being an attorney, we have all the background and negotiation and discovery, so to speak, and basically how to argue your case and set things up and analyze the case and knowing the programs. And it's very similar to law. So it's the Internal Revenue Manual, where like bankruptcy is the bankruptcy code. And there's rules and regulations, and you apply your client's facts to the case as best you can. We try to settle as fast as we can or resolve the issue as fast as we can for as little as possible. And there's all kinds of strategies we can get into in different kinds of cases and different kinds of situations. Thank you.
Well, let's start off explaining what offer and compromise is.
Okay. An offer and compromise is basically like a settlement. Okay. You're going to try to compromise the amount that you owe. Now, everybody wants that, right? Oh, give me an offer and compromise. Well, it's not quite that easy. I mean, it's a formula. The IRS collection process, the IRS, it's a analysis of cash flows, money in, money out, to create what the IRS and our on your behalf will try to agree would be your disposable monthly income. How much can you pay? 60 months, 72 months. And then the whole formula is kind of a negotiation on the expenses and the income and what we could deduct and argue and all that kind of stuff, which helps the numbers fluctuate. But then based upon what you owe and what you could pay over a certain amount of time, that would be the offer amount. Okay. There's also what they call installment agreements, which is really payments. Okay. And there's also they call partial pay installment agreements. And there's also a resolution. You could do what's called currently non-collectible or penalty abatement. So of the main programs, offer and compromise, reducing the amount, and the installment agreement, we really need to analyze the client's situation completely for all kinds of offers. What are your option or options, the pros and cons of each? Because the IRS is going to do the same thing. So let's say we're proposing an offer and compromise. Well, I got to know the formulas and what I think, you would, if the IRS would think you could do a full pay installment agreement or a partial pay installment agreement, and compare that to the offer and compromise, because you don't automatically qualify for an offer and compromise, right? And there's different thresholds also. There's also what kind of offer and compromise. Doubt as to liability. I don't think I owe the money. Doubt as to collectability. Okay, I owe the money. I can't pay. Can we settle? I'm saying. And then, do you owe 25 grand or 50,000 or over 100 grand? Up to $1 million. I mean, do we need to show financials, or can we just fill out, talk to them on the phone, or fill out the information sheet without the financials? Depends upon various factors, how much you owe, what kind of program we're doing. But basically, an offer and compromise is trying to settle the situation. But you can't just submit offers. I mean, I think only like 20, maybe 30 or 35% nationally are accepted. Now, that's just a rough number I was looking at, because a lot of people just submit offer and compromises, and when they really shouldn't be. So of course those numbers are down. So if you have a professional, ourself or someone else who concentrates in this area of law or this area of tax representation, then you have a higher probability, because first of all, we're not going to submit offers if you don't qualify, right? And if you do qualify, we have to look at the installment agreement, because the IRS is going to weigh, well, I can get X dollars in offer and compromise now, but I can get a full pay in 72 months in this much. Well, how much is the difference? And then what's the cost? Like in law litigation, what's the cost of litigation? What's the risk, right? So they would weigh the risk, not litigation, but they weigh the risk of, well, if it's an installment agreement, 72 months, are they going to pay for 72? Is something going to happen? Are we really going to get it? So if it's close, they may just take the offer. Where if it's a big difference number, they may say, hey, no offer, go with the installment agreement. And what's the magic formula in between? That's a negotiation, or talking to the IRS, or just having experience. But basically, to answer your question, the offer and compromise is trying to reduce the amount. And you can pay either in full or, in a year or so.
Kevin, I got to tell people this show is meant to educate you. And, one of the things I know we can tell people is when you put that envelope in the drawer and you shut it, you open that drawer, it's still going to be there. It's not going anywhere. And I think that's where you get a lot of your clients, because they've been sticking that envelope in their drawer thinking it was going to go away.
That's a great statement, because that's so true. They do keep the letters, like you say, they just don't open them. So oftentimes you get a client and they just give you the stack of letters. Okay, I got a letter opener. We'll start opening them up. No problem. But it's also a big relief to have someone give us those letters. They're like, okay, now it's on you. You figure it out. And basically, you got to open them, because you got to know what's going on, because we got to see where you are, right, in the collection process. So there is what they call ACS, which is the automated collection system. There's revenue officers, there's the appeals, there's the U.S. tax court. There's all kinds of different things as you progress. Once you owe taxes and you file your tax returns and you don't pay, you start incurring interest and penalties. But then you start getting a bill from the IRS saying, hey, where's the money, right? So once they start billing you, then they start giving you a series of letters. Like they may start with a CP, what's called a CP 54 letter. But those are just several letters that ask for the money, threaten levies, and that kind of things. And it's scary. So a lot of clients think they're about to be garnished or levied, and actually, the IRS can do that, but only at a certain point. just owing the money doesn't give them the right to automatically garnish you or levy. They have to go through the collection steps and give you a final notice of intent to levy, right? And then at that point, you got 30 days, and we could resolve it. You could hire a professional. We could request a collection hold, or you can file what's called a CDP, collection due process appeal, and stop it that way as well. So there's ways to stop that or freeze it, right? But the first thing we got to do is see where you are, open those letters. We'll get a power of attorney on file with the IRS. So now we represent you with the IRS. We're your voice to the IRS. So that's a big relief to people. They have a professional handling the situation. We could then pull what they call tax transcripts with the IRS to see where you are, right? It's kind of like doing discovery, as a lawyer. What does the other side know? Are they about to levy you? Or, did they give you the final notice of intent to levy? So we know, do I want to use my collection hold request or save that? Because if they can't levy you yet, why am I requesting the hold? Also, we got to analyze what tax years you owed. Are they dischargeable or not? What are your options? Also, which tax years expire? The IRS only has 10 years to collect, right? But there's also periods of what they call tolling periods. So maybe over the process of time, you filed bankruptcy or you did some other things, and there's different statutes on different tolling periods. So you got to figure all that out. When does the tax year, like you may owe $100,000, right? But that could be a series of different tax years, 20 grand, 17,000, 2 grand, all those different numbers. So we're actually looking at all of them saying, when's it going to expire? So are we trying to slow down the process on maybe a year or two, because that's just going to fall out and you don't have to pay, or, what are we doing? And that's why you have a professional. It's tax representation, it's tax planning. Just like if I was doing someone's bankruptcy, it would be bankruptcy planning. So you got to do your discovery process. Then we got to make sure that you're in compliance, right? Now we know what the IRS knows, where they are, what tax years you owe and how much, when's the expiration dates, right? What's our facts? What's our plan? Also now, have you filed returns on different years? Are you in compliance? So now let's get you in compliance if you're not, right? Because you want to be in compliance when you start making our offers. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem, right? And then once we're doing that, we're gathering all the facts. You're analyzing your assets and your liabilities to try to see what kind of offers we would qualify for, or installment agreements, full pay or partial pay. What expenses can we try to maybe help you not incur, but there are some expenses you could actually maybe don't have that you actually need that would actually help you. So, we would go through that whole process with you, the whole financial analysis. And then, of course, we would decide on which course of action to take with you with, the client's agreement, and then request that resolution with the IRS, and then represent the client with the IRS before that agreement. And if we have to appeal it or go through revenue officers or tax court, whatever needs to be done.
We're here with attorney Kevin Benjamin. We're talking tax relief. So we've gotten 3 questions in all parts of Florida, and they're all the same. What happens if you can't pay the IRS?
Okay, so there's basically several resolutions, right? So there's offer and compromise, which are the different subparts, right? Liability or collections, and then there's the installment agreements, full pay, partial pay, and then there's different threshold levels on each one, right? The third one is the CNC, the currently non-collectible status. So we would look at the situation and why can't you pay? I mean, everyone says they can't pay, but
right.
maybe you really can't. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, we want to contact the IRS and request a currently non-collectible resolution, meaning you can't pay. And here's why, right? And then if the IRS agrees, they will back off, and then you don't have to pay for now. Now, of course, eventually we have to renew that, or or if you are,
but you have to prove it though, too, right?
Excuse me.
You have to prove it too.
Well, that's my job, right? I mean, the client proves it to me, and then I prove it to the IRS, right? So yeah, because there's situations where maybe you can't, you are non-collectible now, but maybe in 6 months or maybe you can, maybe it's temporary, but the IRS will actually grant a currently non-collectible if we could show that, right? Now, once we have that, right, and then we know now we're working with you, hey, your situation is getting resolved, or maybe you're working again, or whatever, something happened, you know what I'm saying? So now in advance, we know what our income and expenses are, and we know when you're not going to be in the non-collectible status anymore, we're ready to go with a offer and compromise or partial pay installment, or whatever resolution it is, staying on top of the situation for you and monitoring your case for you as we go along. Because there's the civil liability. Hey, I had income, I filed my taxes, but I can't pay, right? Then there's the criminal liability where I'm lying about my income, right. So that's a whole new matter. There's the criminal division and the civil division with the IRS. Now we're talking those commenters who are texting. I'm assuming that's a civil thing. Okay, hey, you can't pay. It happens, right? First of all, depending on the situation, maybe it's dischargeable in bankruptcy, and maybe you want to file bankruptcy. Depends on the amount of tax or your other situation. We could help you analyze your option for that if you need to. It's not a problem. Now, if it's a criminal situation, we can still help you. But yeah, the criminal division's a little tougher, and they're looking at more. It's a different ball game. It's not just a matter of I can't pay. It's a matter of you're hiding things, and it's a whole new ball game. But the IRS understands that you can't get blood out of a stone, so to speak, yes. Right? So you can't get what you can't get. You have no assets. Where are they going to leave you, right? So, or maybe you have assets, and we want to try to make sure they don't put a lien on it first. So that's our job.
Mark has a follow-up. He said, what if you can't pay and you haven't filed in the last 5 years?
Right. So that's the compliance part. Remember, the first step is you come into the office is the power of attorney or the information request for the IRS. So we get them off your back, so to speak, as far as now we're in the game, and the IRS will talk to us instead of you, and they're not calling you, and they're dealing with us, right? Then we get the tax transcripts, and there's different kinds of transcripts, but we get the tax transcripts, right? And now we do our due diligence, and we know where the IRS is in the process, or because maybe you have that envelope full of the drawer full of letters, so you don't know if you got the final letter or not. But or maybe you lost the letters, So we'll find that out during our discovery on the tax transcript analysis to see what the IRS knows and what they're about to do, right? So then, I'm sorry, the question was you can't pay, and what else?
Can't pay and they haven't filed.
Oh, right. Okay. So the next step is the compliance. You haven't filed. That's very common. Don't worry about that, right? So now we got to get you in compliance, right? You got to file the taxes, right?
Okay. So
we'll either use one of our accountants, or if you have your own accountant, we'll work with you on that, right? So we'll get those filed. Plus, if you're going to owe money in those 5 years, we want to be not only compliant, so the IRS will start talking to us on the different resolutions, right? But if you owe money on those, right, then we want to resolve those as part of the offer and compromise or the installment agreement. Another thing is sometimes people they haven't filed, but they got a refund coming. Well, it's only a couple of years. You got like 2 or 3 years on the refund. So are you going to waive that? Are you going to lose that? Or how much? What's going on? So investigation, which is the tax transcripts, compliance, okay, and then the resolution parts, installment agreement, offer and compromises, the different sub programs of those. The currently not collectible, maybe first time penalty abatement. How much is you owe? How much is penalties and interest? How much is income, what's happening. So to answer the caller's question or the texters, it's very common to not be able to pay and not to have filed a return, or to be able to pay but not have filed your returns. Right. Oftentimes people are in trouble, or they're not in trouble, they're in the civil collection part with the IRS because they haven't just gotten around to paying it yet. Maybe you're self-employed, so it's not like a paycheck where it's coming out automatically and stuff like that. So it's very common, I mean, of course, to each individual person, it's like, this is me and, what's going on. But that's a very common problem. And getting in compliance is just a matter of getting the returns filed.
Kevin, I think the greatest thing about retaining your services that the person no longer has to talk to the IRS anymore. And I am telling you, that has got to be, just that alone is taking a lot of the load off their shoulders, because they could easily say the wrong thing to the IRS.
Excellent point. Well, first of all, the fear part is, I always talk about, it's death and taxes, or public speaking and talking to the IRS. That's right up there.
You don't have a problem with either.
Death is behind that. You know what I'm saying? So, so people don't want, and you don't want to talk to the IRS. But it's also like having it's like being a lawyer having a client. The first thing they tell you in law school is a lawyer who handles his own case has a fool for a client. You need representation. The IRS, they're not your friend. They're not your buddy. They get someone on the phone. Oh, don't worry about it. So do you own this? They're real nice, and you don't know what they're asking or why. I do. You don't know if you're saying the right thing. I mean, I'm not saying that you're lying, but sometimes people.
No, they're very good at what they do.
Right. I mean, people say things that they don't even mean, because did I say that, Kevin? Yeah, you said that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have that, So it's, you got to be careful what you say and how you do it. And that's why you have a representative taking care of this for your professional. And that's got to be a EA, who's an enrolled agent, CPA, or a lawyer doing it. I'm not the only person or firm that takes care of these things. But we are a smaller boutique style firm. So it's basically probably me you're going to be handling your case, but not one of those national companies that you're going to have a call center. I mean, you call my office, they may ask you, 5-6 questions, what kind of years do you, the basic stuff. So I have little information, but then you can make the appointment with me, right? And we can meet in the office or do Zoom or whatever we got to do, and go through the process, because the collection information, it's not quick. I mean, there's a lot of questions, because I got to know, if you're my client, I got to know what's going on, right? Now I'm going to get the transcript, to see what the IRS, right? I see what the IRS knows, but I got to know what you know. You know what I'm saying? And so I got to know everything, because I'm your representative. I'm the voice for the IRS. So I got to know what's going on, why it happened, this and this, what are the expenses, and even things you don't think count. Just tell me, right? I'm working with you, right? So the more information I have, the more I understand your case when I'm arguing it with a revenue officer, or an appeal, or whatever it is, tax court. I know all the information. It's just like being a lawyer trying a case. It's really how it is.
Hey, let's give everybody your phone number and your website.
Great. You call toll free, 800-550-0733. It's 800-550-0733. That's just the easiest number. We help people in different, jurisdictions. I could do a lot of different things in different places. And the webpage is Noble taxrelief.com. And I see that on the scroll, it's info@nobletax.com, but it's really nobletaxrelief.com. So maybe you can fix that on the scroll.
Yes. So it should be info@Noble Tax Relief.
Yeah, nobletaxrelief.com.
Okay. I don't know why that's all we had.
Yeah.
Kevin's with us every month. He'll be back again with us next month. And Kevin, I understand why you're so good at what you do. You have just got a world of great information. And hopefully we're going to get people to call you. And listen, this is really important, because Kevin, it doesn't really matter what part of the country you're in. So if you have a relative, say, down in California, they can still contact Kevin. Yeah. And that's really important to know. Tell them don't suffer anymore. Have somebody represent them like Kevin. And we will be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.